It was just another Thursday. Ruby's heels clicked against the sidewalk as she stepped out of her car, her work tote digging into her shoulder. Her neck ached from hours of spreadsheets, tax audits, and caffeine that barely counted as coffee. She was tired, but it was the kind of tired she had trained herself to ignore. What she couldn't ignore was the porch light. It was on. Simon never remembered to turn it on. Not unless she reminded him 3 times or left a passive, aggressive sticky note on the fridge. Yet tonight it glowed like someone else had planned her welcome home. That small glow on the porch stirred something uneasy in her stomach, like seeing your own name on a stranger's mailbox. As Ruby reached the front steps, she noticed something else: silence. Not the usual quiet after a long day kind of silence. This was heavy, unnatural. Their dog Cooper always came bounding down the hall whenever he heard her keys. But tonight, nothing. No clicking paws. No excited bark. No familiar chaos, only stillness. She hesitated for a second before turning the doorknob. The lock clicked open too easily. The door creaked open. Warm light spilled out from the living room. And there she was, Giselle, Ruby's mother-in-law, sitting right in the center of Ruby's living room, on Ruby's couch. Wearing that beige cardigan she treated like a suit of armor, legs tucked delicately to the side, back straight, expression smug, and in her hands Ruby's favorite mug, the blue ceramic one with the tiny crack in the handle that only Ruby ever noticed. She was sipping chamomile like she owned the house, the furniture, and the memories that lived there. Ruby didn't move, not at first. The image was so surreal it took a moment to process, like walking into a dream, where everything is familiar but upside down. Giselle looked up completely unfazed. Her lips curled into a slow smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Ruby," she said, as if greeting an old friend or an intruder. Ruby opened her mouth to speak, but before she could form a word, she saw him. Simon, standing in the hallway, arms crossed, shoulders stiff, eyes avoiding hers like they carried a secret too heavy to meet her gaze. The silence between them crackled, too tense, too calculated. Then he said it. "The house is Mom's now," just like that. No emotion, no warning, no shame. Ruby blinked, stunned. "I'm sorry." What Simon's voice was flat. "We made a decision. You wouldn't let Mom move in, so I made it happen." Giselle sipped her tea, smug, unbothered. She added casually, "Simon told me the paperwork's all taken care of. There's no reason for you to stay here anymore." It felt like the walls tilted. Ruby looked between them, her husband and his mother, and realized that they weren't just united, they were rehearsed. Giselle didn't raise her voice. She didn't throw a tantrum or bang her fists on the table. No, she smiled. That soft, polite kind of smile you give when you're handing a stranger a parking ticket or kicking a stray cat off your porch. "Let's not make this a big thing, Ruby," she said calmly, setting her tea down with a gentle clink. "You can start packing. I'm sure you have a friend you can stay with for now." The audacity hit Ruby like a slap with silk gloves, cruel but civilized. She wasn't just being asked to leave her home. She was being brushed off like some inconvenient shadow they were finally done tolerating. Her hands trembled, but her face remained still. "This isn't real," her mind whispered. "They can't actually mean this." But Giselle had already begun adjusting the throw pillows on the couch. She was nesting, claiming. "And Simon," he said nothing. Ruby turned to Simon, waiting, hoping. Just one word, one flicker of decency, one sign that the man she built 17 years of life with was still in there underneath all the cowardice. But Simon didn't say anything. He just stood there, arms still folded, staring past her like she was already gone. And in that moment, Ruby realized something that cut deeper than Giselle's fake kindness or the eviction itself. Simon wasn't conflicted. He wasn't torn or trapped or manipulated. He had chosen this. He had chosen silence. And silence, Ruby thought bitterly, was sometimes louder than betrayal. Her throat burned, not from tears, but from the heat of clarity, the kind of clarity that ends love, the kind that signs divorce papers before the ink even hits the page. Ruby didn't cry, not a single tear. She walked up the stairs slowly, as if every step marked a countdown. Not toward an end, but toward a beginning she hadn't planned for. Behind her, Giselle was already fluffing pillows like she was redecorating her kingdom. Simon stayed silent, frozen like a man who had set fire to his life and was waiting to see what burned first. Ruby entered the bedroom, the same room where she used to fold laundry while Simon scrolled on his phone. The same room where she had once thought, "This is home." Now it felt foreign, cold, stripped of meaning. She pulled out her old travel suitcase, the one she hadn't used since her solo conference trip to Chicago 2 years ago, unzipped it, laid it flat on the bed, and began to pack. A few days' worth of clothes, her laptop, phone charger, toiletries, the bare essentials. She left behind the jewelry, the photo frames, the hand-knitted blanket her mother gave her before she passed. Let them keep the things. She had something far more valuable, the mortgage, the title deed, the bank statements. All of it was in her name. And inside her head a storm was forming. It didn't scream. It calculated, calm on the outside, ruthless on the inside. The hotel wasn't glamorous. Just a small room with a queen-size bed, curtains that had seen better days, and a ceiling stain shaped vaguely like Ohio. But to Ruby it felt like freedom. She kicked off her shoes, ordered Thai food without asking anyone what they felt like eating, and let the silence wrap around her like a blanket. No voices, no criticism, no mother-in-law rearranging her furniture, no Simon, just space. After dinner arrived, Ruby sat cross-legged on the bed takeout container balanced on one knee, and beside her, the folder. The one she had kept hidden at the bottom of her work tote for over a year. A quiet insurance policy, a secret backup plan she never thought she'd need, but always knew she might. She opened it. Inside were mortgage documents, closing contracts, property tax records, and monthly bank statements going back 17 years. Every page stamped with the same name, Ruby Hastings. No Simon, no Giselle, just her. In that moment, she didn't feel broken. She felt prepared. This wasn't the end of the story. It was the start of her power play. She picked up her phone, found a name in her contacts, and hit record. "Hey, Brad, it's Ruby. I need your help. It's about the house." The next morning, Ruby didn't hesitate. She woke up before her alarm, not out of habit, but out of purpose. There were no tears, no hesitation. Only one clear, resounding thought. They think they took everything. They forgot who built it. She got dressed in silence, brushed her hair into a clean bun, and put on the blazer she used to wear when negotiating tax disputes for high-value clients. Then she picked up the phone. Brad Concade, the same boy who sat behind her in AP history, copied her answers on quizzes, and once called her Ruthless Ruby when she corrected a teacher's tax calculation in front of the entire class. He was also now one of the top real estate brokers in the county. The phone rang once, twice, then Brad here. Ruby didn't stutter. "Hey, Brad, it's Ruby Hastings. I need your help. It's about the house." There was a brief pause on the line. Then came the voice she remembered, slightly cocky, always amused. "Let me guess. Drama." She exhaled steady. "Not drama," she said. "War." Brad leaned back in his chair, scanning the documents Ruby had laid across his desk. Title deed, original mortgage contract, 17 years of payment records, every single one under her name. He didn't say much at first, then he let out a low whistle. "Damn, Ruby, you weren't playing around." She didn't flinch, didn't smirk, just nodded. "They kicked me out," she said calmly. "I'm just returning the favor with interest." Brad grinned. "You want to sue? No, that was the beauty of it. No messy court battles, no social media fights, no yelling, no threats, just action. Clean, legal, undeniable. I want the house listed," Ruby said. "Fast, loud, visible. I want a for sale sign in that yard before they even know what hit them." Brad tapped his pen. "You want the sale to be the message?" She nodded. "Exactly." He pulled open a drawer and grabbed the listing forms. "Let's make it loud and irreversible." Ruby signed the papers with a hand that didn't shake, because she wasn't angry anymore. She was strategic. Ruby was sitting on the hotel balcony, sipping black coffee from a paper cup. The morning was quiet, the sun gentle, birds chirped. It almost felt peaceful. Then her phone rang. Blocked number. She knew who it was, but she let it ring. 1 time, 2 times, 3. It stopped, then buzzed again. Voicemail. She took a sip of coffee, then slowly opened the message. Simon's voice was frantic, high, shaky, and desperate. "Ruby, what the hell is going on? There's a real estate agent standing at our door saying the house is under contract. He says it's already listed online. Ruby, you can't do that?" "We live here," she didn't reply. Not a text, not a call, not a single sound. Because silence, when it came from a woman like Ruby, was no longer weakness. It was a verdict. Simon had played a dirty game. Now he was learning what it felt like to lose to someone who played smarter. 15 minutes after Simon's voicemail, her phone buzzed again. This time a text from Giselle. All caps, all rage, all desperation. "You can't sell this house, we have rights." Ruby stared at the screen for a full 10 seconds, then laughed once. Quiet, cold, the irony. These were the same people who told her she didn't belong, the same people who said, "There's no reason for you to be here anymore." Now they were begging to stay, but Ruby wasn't responding. Not today. Not to someone who drank tea from her favorite mug, kicked her out of her own home, and smiled while doing it. Let them scream. Let them panic. The house wasn't theirs to lose. It was hers to take back. By Tuesday afternoon, Ruby's lawyer had had enough. No more calls, no more all-caps texts, no more drama from people who confused noise with power. Instead, he sent one email. Subject line: proof of sole ownership, Hastings, property attached was a high-resolution scan of the original deed, clear as glass. Owner Ruby Hastings, no Simon, no Giselle, no shared anything. And below the attachment was a single professional line of text. Please vacate the premises within 72 hours, or we will proceed with formal eviction as part of the ongoing divorce. That was it. No insults, no threats, just facts. The kind of facts that slammed doors harder than shouting ever could. Ruby didn't need to raise her voice, because when you own the title, you don't beg, you don't plead, you serve. And in this case, she served cold. Sunday morning was gray, still, too quiet. The kind of silence that knows something irreversible is about to happen. Ruby stepped out of her car at 9:59 a.m. In her hands, a manila folder thick and sealed. Inside everything: the deed, the mortgage history, 17 years of proof signed, stamped, notarized. She walked up to the porch with calm footsteps, no rush, no fear. The front door opened before she could knock. Simon stood there, unshaven, wearing sweatpants, eyes hollow from nights without sleep. Behind him, Giselle sat in an armchair by the fireplace, arms crossed, lips tight, mug trembling slightly in her grip. Ruby didn't say hello. She walked in straight to the dining table and laid the folder down with the quiet power of someone who doesn't need to shout. She opened the flap, pulled out the top sheet, and held it up. This, she said, her voice level and lethal, is the deed. It says, "I own the house. Only me." Simon paled. Giselle's jaw clenched. They didn't speak, because there was nothing left to say. Simon opened his mouth, maybe to argue, maybe to lie, maybe to reach for an excuse. But Ruby cut him off. No. She reached into the folder again, pulled out a stack of receipts, printed bank statements, itemized repairs. "Let's talk numbers." Her voice was steady, calm, but deadly. Like a storm that speaks before it hits. "I paid for the new roof in 2016. She slapped the receipt on the table. "I paid the property taxes every year. The furnace when it broke in the middle of winter. The new plumbing after the leak in the kitchen. I paid for your father's funeral, Simon." Her voice cracked just once, but her eyes stayed sharp. "And when your car got repossessed because you missed 3 payments, I bought you a used Honda." "Cash." Simon stared at the floor. Giselle tried to speak, but Ruby didn't let her. "And you, Giselle, all those contributions you bragged about to your church friends. I have the receipts. I paid for the landscaper you hired and never tipped. The new fire alarm system. The termite treatment. The freaking garbage disposal." Ruby leaned forward. "You both lived in my house off my paycheck for 17 years, and you think I'm the one who should leave silence. Sharp. Deadly." Ruby didn't sit. She didn't soften. She didn't stall. She simply reached into her leather handbag, slow, deliberate, and pulled out a small white envelope. She placed it on the table, gently, like it was nothing. But what it held was everything. She opened the flap and slid out 3 printed photographs. She laid them down one by one. First photo, Simon with his arm around a woman half Ruby's age, smiling like nothing in the world was wrong. Second, the 2 of them kissing behind a parked car. Third, leaving a hotel late at night, hand in hand. Simon froze, his mouth parted, but no words came out. Giselle gasped, but Ruby kept talking. "You think I didn't know?" Her voice didn't rise. "It didn't need to. You started getting secretive the moment you asked for access to our joint accounts." She reached into the folder again. This time it wasn't receipts. It was divorce papers, signed, sealed, ready, and next to them a formal request for alimony. She placed both documents beside the photos like setting a full meal in front of someone who's about to choke. You gave me 17 years of emotional labor, she said, eyes locked on his. Now I'll be billing you for it. Ruby didn't slam the door. She didn't scream or cry or hurl anything across the room like they did in the movies. No. She just stood still for a moment, letting the silence echo louder than any goodbye ever could. Then she turned and walked toward the door. Each step slow, intentional, weighted not by pain, but by finality. Simon sat hunched at the edge of the dining chair, face buried in his hands. Giselle stared blankly into her untouched coffee, its steam long gone cold. The house around them was the same, but somehow emptier than ever. Ruby didn't look back. Not at the couch she chose, not at the rug her mother helped carry, not at the man who had once sworn to protect her. She didn't need to, because what mattered most, she was taking it with her. Her dignity, her freedom, and every ounce of leverage she had just laid on that table. She stepped outside, shut the door behind her quietly, finally, like the ending of a book she would never reread. It didn't take long for things to fall apart. Simon's car was the first to go. 2 weeks after the house sale closed, it was repossessed quietly at night. 1 minute it was parked on the curb, the next gone, no warning, no second chance. Then came the eviction notice from Ruby's lawyer. No negotiation, no loopholes, just deadlines and consequences. Simon tried to stall, threaten, plead, but the deed was final. The funds were transferred. The house legally sold. He was out. He and Giselle moved into a third-floor walk up on the edge of town with a broken intercom and water stains on the ceiling. She had to sell off her antique furniture to cover the deposit. The woman who once held Ruby's favorite mug like a trophy now drank instant coffee from a chipped glass. Simon started applying for jobs again, but the RSUMs came back cold. No one wanted to hire a mid-40s man with a history of short-term gigs, spotty credit, and a reputation for blame shifting. The girl from the hotel photos. She disappeared the moment she found out he no longer had a house, a car, or a bank account that wasn't being garnished for alimony. The life Simon thought he could steal slipped through his fingers like dust. Ruby didn't rush into buying a new house. For once, she wasn't building anything for someone else. No shared closets, no matching towels, no silent negotiations about where the couch should go. She found a furnished one-bedroom condo near the marina, small, sunlit, and completely her own. There were no footsteps down the hallway but her own. No one to rearrange her kitchen. No passive-aggressive notes on the fridge. No Giselle. She watered the plants when she felt like it, left dishes in the sink overnight without guilt, worked late if she wanted or didn't work at all. She ate takeout on the floor, lit candles for no reason, read books until 2 a.m. without someone asking her to turn the light off already. The silence wasn't lonely, it was earned, and for the first time in years she didn't have to explain her choices. She just lived, not as a wife, not as a daughter-in-law, not as someone trying to hold a broken thing together. Just Ruby. It wasn't a date, it wasn't even planned. Brad had invited Ruby to a small charity mixer near the marina. Wine, jazz, some polite conversation. Ruby went because she wanted to wear her blue dress, the one she never wore with Simon, because it's too loud. That night she didn't care about being too much. And that's when she met James. Brad introduced them over mini quiches in a bad jazz cover of Stevie Wonder. James smiled, not the polished, performative kind, but the kind that waits to smile until he's actually listening. He didn't ask Ruby what she did for a living. He didn't ask if she had kids. He didn't scan the room while she spoke. He asked her what book changed her life, and he listened like her answer mattered. He didn't try to fix her. Didn't pretend he could. He just said, "I know life can burn us down, but sometimes what grows back is wilder and more beautiful than anything we planned." Ruby laughed. Not the polite kind, but the real one. The one that makes your chest ache a little because you forgot how good it feels to be seen. And for the first time in a long time, she didn't flinch at the idea of being known again. The message came late, almost midnight. A simple notification on her phone. "Simon, I'm sorry. I didn't realize how much you carried." Ruby stared at the screen. Not with rage, not with pain, but with a clarity she didn't have 6 months ago. She thought about the 17 years, the sacrifices, the loneliness, the nights she paid the bills while Simon slept, the morning she walked out, the folder full of receipts, the photo of his betrayal. She took a deep breath and typed slowly, intentionally, "You didn't know because you never tried to." She didn't wait for a reply. She didn't care if there was one, because some messages are not meant to start conversations, they're meant to end them. Ruby set her phone down, turned off the light, and as she drifted into sleep, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace. It wasn't dramatic. There was no music playing, no candlelit room, no rain tapping at the window. Just Ruby, in her small condo by the marina, wearing an old sweatshirt, hands steady. She opened a box labeled "The House." Inside, mortgage copies, photos, bank statements, receipts from the roof, the furnace, the funeral. Simon's text, the divorce decree, the infidelity evidence, every document that had once been proof that she had built, that she had given, that she had endured. One by one, she fed them into the shredder, not out of spite, not to forget, but because she no longer needed to prove anything. Not to Simon, not to Giselle, not even to herself. She had survived. She had rebuilt, and she had learned self-worth doesn't come from evidence. It comes from knowing when to keep and when to let go. And in the soft humming sound of paper turning to confetti, Ruby felt something deeper than revenge. She felt free. Sometimes the strongest revenge isn't a courtroom win or a screaming match. It's a silent exit by a woman who knows her worth. Ruby's journey is a powerful reminder that financial contribution is power. It's not a favor, it's ownership. Kindness doesn't mean weakness. Everyone has a breaking point. You don't need validation to prove your worth. When you know who you are, you don't owe anyone an explanation. Walking away doesn't mean giving up, it means choosing yourself. And that's the real victory. If Ruby's story made you feel something, if you saw even a glimpse of your own strength in her silence, hit that subscribe button. Because sometimes it only takes one story to remind you of who you truly are.